Good morning.
Good
Welcome
morning.
to another podcast of the Caring Support, I should say podcast. And this week, I'm really happy to have Jim Kloss on here with Age Safe Canada. This gentleman is in Canada just like us, and he's doing amazing things in the healthcare space and wellness. So we thought it'd be great. We should get together and figure out and learn more about what Jim's doing in this space. So, Jim, welcome to our podcast and Happy New Year. I guess I can still say that.
I would say, what are we, the fifth? Yeah, you got at least another week, I'd say. And especially with the first time you talk to somebody in the new year, you got to still wish them a happy new year for sure.
Well, we got to figure out when we release this because obviously we had to do post production and everything. So,
Well, it's
uh,
still the new year, still January. Yeah.
absolutely. So, Jim, really glad you could make it. Could you maybe share with our audience a little bit about yourself and what you're doing, et cetera?
I sure can. I guess I'll do a short version of my history, but essentially this will be my 32nd year in what I would deem home health care. It's obviously what we'll talk about a bit today in more detail, but prior to this recent wave of exposure to the home healthcare world, I've been doing it for that amount of time, in various roles and responsibilities in big corporations and small startups, and currently find myself independent as I have been for a number of years, doing different projects. And the one project that we're focused on is the Age Safe Canada Senior
Right.
Home Safety Specialist criteria online training course that we're looking to spread the word about. And a lot of that, and I can get into it in a little bit more detail, is really from my history in recognizing that there is a need of laying out some baseline safety concerns in people's homes for a number of different reasons that we'll get into. But I've taken the mantle and the logo of Age Safe to bring it across all aspects of home healthcare, whether it's the workers or the clients themselves. So that's where I'm at. But I've have a history of accessibility design, age safe, or sorry, aging in place design and home modifications, sales and marketing, education. Education has always been a big element in how I sold product
Right.
to healthcare. Essentially, there was always an element of education because at the time it was new. Now it's becoming so innovative and fast changing, like everything in our society, that people have to keep up. And I'm hoping to be one of those conduits where people can keep up.
Yeah. No, that's great. And unfortunately, I think a lot of stuff in healthcare, a lot of processes, systems, everything are incredibly dated. And there's at least we encounter with our platform is we encounter many folks who have just a reluctance to change, and the certainly the hiring is it's the all the processes and systems are based on candidates coming in, and now the candidates aren't coming in, like the pipeline of candidates coming in. So we're trying to help people understand why they have to be more proactive now, why they have to reach out and engage. And for some people that's uncomfortable, and because they're going, well, when people have applied to jobs for them, they felt in control of the conversation and the situation. Now all of a sudden they got to put themselves out there and pitch to people. And I'm saying it's just in how they look at it, and it's not as scary as people might think. But I appreciate what you're doing, Jim, because the education component, it's not just, hey, I got another sale or I've been successful at this. This is about making people feel comfortable in what they're doing and understanding the importance of why they're doing it and the
Yeah,
impact that it creates in their environment. So
yeah,
good on you. Yeah,
yeah.
that's awesome.
There's a few things to unpack from that statement, or those statements that you made, James. And the why is certainly, it's not a means to an end. The education is not a means to an end of sales, but it is that the comfort level, the understanding that there's more to it. Even if you are working in a senior's home, there's more to it than just the task at hand or the laundry list of things you have to do on that day. You're involved with somebody's life and livelihood. Getting back to what you said about employers having to go out and essentially recruit, but in a better way. That's one reason why education platforms and many other tactics should be used, and tactics kind of is a dirty word, but at the same time, what we did find out coming out of the pandemic, and I think this is across all industries, is workers want to work at places that don't demand their entire heart and soul, for lack of a better term. They're not going to give over their entire life to an employer anymore as it may have
Right.
been 20 years ago. They want to work for a place that supports them, gives them some credibility, helps them mature and grow, and find satisfaction. It's an age old
Absolutely.
thing, and I think the way you say that, what you're trying to accomplish here on this platform, is that, and that's what I want to be. The age safe thing is, like you said, is simply a tool in that toolbox to keep people happy, engaged, and
Yep.
especially when we talk about healthcare workers being engaged with their job. I mean, essentially, they're looking after our loved ones. They're looking after us. When I'm
Yeah.
in that, rapidly approaching that level, and I want to age in place. So, I would want to, when I have the opportunity to hire somebody to look after even myself, my direct family, that they're engaged and they're happy and they're satisfied in their role, and that's important, very, very important.
Yeah. Well, and this is a big subject, but this podcast is about you, Jim.
Well, those are my thoughts. So,
Yeah.
so
No,
you
absolutely, and
know,
I love it. I mean, don't get me wrong.
oh,
I love it, and I think we're aligned in how we realize, and think about that innovation and the fact the pandemic made a lot of people reflect on their lives and where they're at, and reevaluating, um, the importance of finding that work-life balance, finding those things. So, yeah, this is a subject that I speak on a lot in a conference and stuff, and it makes a lot of people go, I love what you had to say. It's very true, and we have to really start thinking differently and working differently. Um,
yeah,
so, all right, all right. So I'm going to get back to you, Jim.
okay.
Okay. So, next question, which I think is what's the connection between the Age Safe Canada and Live Easy?
So, Live Easy is my own consulting company, and actually, the timing was right at the beginning of the pandemic. Was looking for other opportunities, and I partnered with the Bay Area Health Trust, which is, I'll give a synopsis of the Bay Area Health Trust, because it's a kind of a unique operation as well in Canada and in the world. It is founded through the Hamilton Health Sciences Foundation about over 20 years ago now,
Right.
where some very smart people said, if we can turn a profit at managing the hospital or the real estate, some of the logistical elements, and that profit then doesn't leave the foundation, it actually goes back into the beneficiaries, which is the hospitals and McMaster University Mohawk College. Why don't we do that? And they've done that. So fast forward to just at the end of 2019, 2020, they also invest in life sciences. So any products, companies that are associated, they will either be passive investors or active investors. And there's a couple products in the aging in place world. The Assist Step is a product that we distribute, and some Grippo safety poles and some evacuation equipment for people with limited mobility. All these kind of came around the same time we started distributing that. In the rush of that, we were approached by Age Safe America, which has been around for close to 10 years. The curriculum is what we took to Age Safe Canada. We Canadianized it. We added our advisors, and we did it. So this is a long drawn out story. I just want to say Bay Area Health Trust is a for-profit trust that gives their profits back into the healthcare system. So it's kind of unique that way. So we are the license holders. They are the license holders of Age Safe Canada. And we've now taken that curriculum. When we were approached by Age Safe America, again, going back to our previous topic, is I really felt the need that there was a missing element at the base level of education. There's other courses that are taking in and around this, but nothing that hit the nail on the head when it came to a very almost like basic first aid for somebody. If you look at it, this is like a first aid course for your home. We
Right.
don't talk necessarily about the client or the patient or the consumer in the course, but it's about the home. So it's a first aid course for the home, if you will, or CPR course for the home. So the association is that Live Easy, under my contract as the promotional arm, the sales arm, the content development arm, which is one of the reasons we're here today talking to one another around the promotion of the Age Safe home safety certificate, senior home safety. Sorry, that's a long
Yeah,
explanation, but
yeah.
there's
But I mean,
multiple levels. But I think it needs to be said, especially around Bay Area Health Trust, because it's an unknown entity. And one thing I can say is there's some larger hospital groups around the country that are looking to Bay Area as a model to start replicating it in Toronto, Vancouver, and
that's
Calgary. I
interesting.
know
I'd
of.
like to learn more about what they're doing, and I appreciate certainly when you say the profits are put right back in the healthcare system. That's obviously a noble thing there.
Yeah, yeah, it's
So
unknown. It's unknown, even though they've been around 20 years. It's
isn't that
unique.
crazy?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, so you kind of answered my question on the next one, which is about what is the vision and mission of both of these entities, is there anything that you would add to that?
Well, it's funny because we just came through an exercise at the end of the year, and it's going to continue into the first quarter, is trying to brand ourselves to be more effective in messaging what we want to do as both Live Easy, Bay Area Health Trust, the combination of that, and obviously Age Safe. So, I mean, we came up with which I thought was a wonderful tagline, which is innovation is ageless. So, our mission really is to find. We talk about innovation and new ways to do healthcare. I think that will always be my focus. I don't want myself personally don't want to compete against the Me Too type of products. I want to improve those products if I can in any way, shape, or form. But I also want to identify unique ways to, if we're talking about an overall vision, I personally think, and I'm sure you agree, and the people that will watch this agree, that the healthcare system has to change, whether it's as simple as flipping the script on how monies are allotted through various levels of government to, it's no secret that in any survey you read, 90% of Canadians would rather just live in their homes until until they pass. And as they grow older, their needs increase. Can we replicate what they do in countries like Denmark and Sweden, where it's a no-brainer? It's, if you need something done to your home, if you need care in the home, if you need, and this is all changing so rapidly with age tech stuff. I should and this. Can we be the forefront of helping that script be flipped? Because there's so many eyeballs on it now, and that's a good thing. And I've been, people ask me what I do for a living for the last 30 years. Not many people kind of understood it when I gave them that 10-minute lecture. Now, as soon as I say, well, I'm in seniors care and aging in place, they immediately know it, because it's in the common news. It's in the regular news cycle now. It's
Yeah.
People are talking about it because it is, aside from all the troubles in the world, it is our probably number one social concern right now is how
Yeah.
are people going to age healthily in Canada?
And with an aging demographic, and people see these long waits sitting in emergency rooms, sitting in hallways, sitting, in the whatever it might be. And they're like, I'd rather stay at home than love the comfort of what I have here and knowing this space and that someone could come in and look after me or help with depending on, where they're at with their needs. I agree, which kind of goes perfectly a segue into our next question. What do you envision for the future of home care in Ontario and therefore across Canada? I'd imagine it's a lot of what you've been saying, but if you want to add to that.
Yeah, I think the first steps are really, the cold hard facts have to be presented, and I do a lot of talks with some big associations and national associations as well. But there has to be uh, a major advocacy push to give the governments a return on investment, the actual hard numbers. There's been a couple studies in the last year, one being through the March of Dimes, that really showed how much money people are actually spending on aging in place already. but there's a gap between who want to do it and who can't afford to do it.
Right.
And I think that's the first place that we have to start is, again, if there's expansion of tax credits, including caregiving, make it more realistic. If we have to pay out of our pocket, then we should get it back somehow. If we, ideally, it's part of a program that's paid for, like in Britain, like in the UK, and through National Health, like that. The whole National Health system in the UK is completely different on how they operate through and take the funds from the government, and it allows people that peace of mind that I'm not, I think people here, whether they know it or not, are worried about getting sick and what happens if. Our American friends always say, you got universal health care, you guys are fine. Not at all. As we know, is not at all. Like, and I think people just put things off. So a lot of times when in my previous role and even a little bit now, I see people that have put things off, put even a renovation off, or put off getting care into the home because they're concerned of the costs, or they don't know what to do. There's three things that people ask about. Well, what do I need to do? Who can do it for me? And how do I pay for it? Those are the three common themes of anybody who's trying to stay at home, whether you call it home care, whether you call it aging in place. And so my vision would be, the first part is to convince government levels and taxpayers and the general public that there is a return on investment. We're going to save millions of dollars by funding what's happening now. I mentioned age tech. That's just a flashy word for all the devices and systems that are now put in place. Through COVID, we saw myself, I had to see a specialist. It was the easiest specialist visit I ever had. Is emailed my doctor, email went to the specialist. I had a virtual call like within 2 days. If that was pre-COVID, it would be months before, and then I would have to drive 45 minutes into the office, wait another hour and a half, 2 hours in the office, have a 5-minute consultation, get a prescription and go.
Yeah.
We proved that it could work. We proved
Yeah.
that the technologies are there. So my vision would be that let's take the learnings of the last 2 or 3 years, turn it into a good thing, and start putting them into practice, putting them into regular budgetary level type of discussions so that they can actually be executed on a regular basis and not just in the times of crisis.
Absolutely. It's funny. This is a great conversation because there's so many other things outside of this, and we just don't have the time to talk about it. But
No,
this
it's
might be something where we could talk about it offline, you and I kind of thing. But
sure.
let me ask you something but because it's related. What would you say is the biggest piece of advice for people who want to age safely at home?
Yeah, and it's a common question, but it's not a question that happens every day. And I've said this in the past, is I think you have to plan. It's as simple as that. Everybody's aging, regardless. As soon as the clock ticks over, we're all aging every day. So understand that there is certain things. I guess don't ignore certain health issues. Start thinking ahead of time. Nobody likes to think of their own mortality. I certainly don't. I'm probably the worst one to put things aside. But at the same time, envision yourself in the home you're at or a different home. Because when we say age in place, there's also the concept of aging in place could be in a retirement home. It could be in seniors living. It could be somewhere else. But understand what's necessary to take those next steps, whether it's downsizing, having your paperwork in order. That's a whole other topic that we kind of brush in the age safe course a bit, just to give some preliminary about personal financial safety, because that is
Right. Right.
kind of that's almost a massive topic unto itself. But in the simplest terms, planning, understanding, not being afraid of asking for help, not being afraid to engage with people. Uh, Even if there is a cost for service, it's well worth it, whether it's through an elder care planner, somebody who has taken age safe coursing. There's a lot of elder care planners that take the course as well. lean on the companies that are out there already, the companies that you support, because all of them have the same goal in mind, which is to keep you healthy and safe. And the reality is, there probably, if we're talking about you and me in 20 years, the reality is there won't be a building or a bed for us, because you just can't build them fast enough. And they're, and the other reality is what I said, 90% of people would rather just live at home, live in their community. So planning is the simple
100%.
word.
Yeah, very good. So, how do you envision, like, you guys got a great understanding of what caring support's about, and I'm certainly learning on this call beyond what I already knew, more about what you're doing, Jim, and the importance of it in our the grand scheme of healthcare. So I would love to have more conversations about how we can work together and support each other's mission. But from your point of view, where do you see the alignment, do you think?
Well, we met at the career college
Yes, we did.
show, trade
Great
trade
event, by the
exhibition.
way.
Yeah, and it was, and we kind of went in there. I will say that we almost took a shotgun approach when we first launched AgeSafe, saying that it's valuable for anybody who works with seniors in their homes.
Right.
So, and if you actually see the laundry list of trades and professions and people who do this, it's massive. We need to get to it at the base level and at students. Again, going back to the analogy I used, it's like a basic first aid course. My vision would be, in the simplest terms, would be everybody has to have an age safe certificate to work in somebody's home. Like, okay, grandiose idea, but when you think about it, you know, many people have first aid courses. Many people have taken CPR because they understand that in a time of an emergency, they can jump into action.
Right.
Age safe certificate isn't necessarily going to jump into an emergency, but it's going to be, and it really came to light through the last few months, is those support workers, care workers that are in somebody's home much more regularly than somebody who comes in and does an assessment, or a sales rep that comes in, or a contractor that comes in once. Maybe that's all they come in. But the support worker who's there on a regular basis, be it every day or twice, 2 times a
Right.
week, can
Right.
identify, has enough base knowledge to identify that something's wrong here. They don't have to fix it, but they identify it to their superiors, they identify it to the family or to the customer themselves. So, it's simple things like there's leaky eaves troughs that's causing pooling water outside and ice buildup that somebody's going to fall. Simple things that are common sense, but I think what we've done is we've put it all into a nice package that people can go. It triggers somebody, right?
Mhm.
For a lot of first aid is common sense, but unless you've been told about it and kind of remember your training, you don't act upon it. So that's the vision of it. Quite honestly, is
Interesting. Yeah.
if I could wave a magic wand that everybody I came into contact with would take the course, it would be fantastic. And I envision an evolution of the content, obviously, with things that we talked about, like age teching, and there's things that are changed that we're going to have to change with it as well. We have to get to that level with more members.
I agree. Yeah, and that's good. And I think what you're doing is really fantastic. Now, before we go,
Yep.
maybe Jim, if there's any other thoughts that you'd like to add, I often ask people at the end of the podcast, what's it like being awesome? Because
Well,
everyone on this planet
let me
likes hearing it's awesome.
let
So,
me go out the front door and ask some of my neighbors. I don't know. Um, That's a good question. Um, I think for the purpose of the people who are going to be watching this course, obviously we want a partner. And a vision is, as I said, having everybody take the course. I can't do this one by one by one. We want to have partnerships with those colleges that we mentioned, with the home care companies, a lot of which I've have talked to, want to continue to talking to have a relationship where, again, this gets embedded in. For the employers, the big companies that hire the people that you mentioned earlier off camera that you train, is, it and we didn't quite talk about it. It allows another benefit to their employees, not just for the clients that they service, but the workers get a sense, or the employees get a sense of,
Right.
they care about me. They're giving me this extra training. And I think one thing I should point out, that I did do a posting just before Christmas, is when we talk about workplace safety, that's a topic that's been going on for a number of years. Very focused, very highly regulated. If I go into a workplace, at an office or anything, there is tons of regulations around workplace safety. When you think about a support worker who goes into somebody's individual homes, that becomes their workplace, and they're not regulated. It's somebody's home. Like, it may not have been renovated since the 50s or the 60s.
Right.
You
Right.
don't know what they're. So this training is almost like another insurance policy for that worker themselves and their employer, to make sure that their workplace is safe. If you look at it from that angle, which I
Yeah,
thought,
it's really great.
that's kind of awesome, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. No, I totally agree, because you are going into someone's space, and it's important to really understand all aspects, and rather than researching and reinventing the wheel, like, you're out there with this content. Here you go.
Yeah.
This will really help you understand what you got to do, what you got to be aware of, and to be just educated, right?
Yeah.
So,
And quickly on that note, the content was developed through a number of the universities in the U.S., a number of the associations in the U.S., but they also actually tapped into a number of the Canadian documents and research that was been done over the last, say, 20 years. So it wasn't just reamed off. There was research behind it. It's endorsed by, and recognized here in Canada by the Canadian OT Association. So the OTs play a big part in home modification and understanding environments. So we've got a number of those type of
yeah,
recognitions behind it. So it's real, and it's written and presented in a very, very affluent, what I was going to say, a simple fashion. But you can absorb it quite easily, and people will nod and go, I get that. But even people with a lot of experience have come to me and said, I've learned a couple little things, or it's triggered me on how to think about things a little bit differently. So yeah.
yeah, very good. Well, this has been really great, Jim. It's been enlightening, and it's certainly interesting to learn more about who you are and what you're doing and why it matters. Um, so I really want to say I thank you so much for your time, and for sharing with us.
No, I always like to do these kind of things, and I appreciate the opportunity.
Not a problem. You have yourself an amazing day, sir, and we'll talk soon.
Great. Talk soon.
Thank you.